Hello, this is the Cyber Scribe, or Cyber Scribe, if you want to know. Today I'm going to show you something I invented several years ago. Actually, I didn't invent, I just created and made uh, from a description in a book here. Okay, let me back it off a little bit so you can see the whole thing. It's called The Montauk Revisited Adventures in Synchronicity by Preston Nicholas and Peter Moon. The first book from this was called The Montauk Project, with a gold horse statue on there. And there's a story behind that, why that's on there. But this here had a device that they talked about in the first book, but amazingly enough, they waited till the second book to actually put a picture of it in, of the device. And that's this right here. That is a Delta T antenna. It's probably about 5 foot or so high and wide. It's a diamond-shaped coil that bends space and time and dimensions, as it says right down here in the bottom. It says, this is an actual Delta T that sits above space-time labs on Long Island. By definition, it can actually facilitate shifting time zones. Two coils are placed vertically around the edges of the pyramid structure at 90-degree angles to one another. A third coil surrounds the base. Shifting time zones was accomplished by pulsing and powering the antenna, as is discussed in the Montauk Project, Experiments in Time. Even when the antenna is not powered, it has subtle interdimensional effects on the nature of time itself. Well, this is what one looks like if you build it. And I built one. And this is the one I built. As soon as I get it over there. Oh, there it is. This here, my friend, is a Delta T antenna. This is exactly what they used in the Montauk Project, Experiments in Time, written by Preston B. Nicholas, and Peter Moon was the actual book writer. Preston B. Nicholas is the kind of like the scientific source explainer of all this. But this is what a Delta T looks like. You have two coils going vertical and one horizontal going across the two bases of pyramids stuck together, making this into a diamond-shaped object. You have a coil coming out of the bottom down here. See, that comes out from the bottom of it, and one out the corner. This one here on this corner one, this here, runs the horizontal coils, which is the ones you power up. The vertical coils, the two vertical coils on the pyramid itself, which is these coils here. Oops, I gotta get in here. Gotta get myself straight with the camera. These coils here, there's two of them. This one here, it goes up and over to this, and this second coil going up and over to this. These are fed frequencies, different frequency modulations and pulses, pulse frequencies. And then you can also pulse the electric power on the base line here on this particular base coil that goes all the way around the base. That's the reason for this bundle coming out of the edge here. And the one that comes out of the bottom of the coil of the pyramid structure, that's actually just the, I'm going to let that thing hang, and then we'll push this up through there so you can see the base of it. This is what it looks like when you pull it out. It's a diamond-shaped coil, a delta coil as they call it, because there's three coils, making it a delta. So this is what a delta coil looks like. So you got the coil coming out of the bottom that runs the two coils going vertically, and then you have the one coil here, which is the one running the horizontal coils. And all you have to do is pulse the electric and the frequencies on this, and it will open up a time-space door, as it did in the Montauk project. It makes an excellent antenna, too, I realized, too. I hooked a shortwave up to it, and this thing is just awesome for a shortwave antenna. I was amazed at this design, that this Delta antenna was like this. Apparently on the Montauk project, or the Philadelphia Experiment project, T. Thompson Brown created this antenna like this and put it up on a mast to create a, what I call it was controlling the electromagnetic fields. It's like what's on, when you see a little antenna, amazingly enough, a lot of the UFO pictures you'll see have little antennas coming out of the top of the dome on the UFO. Well, that little antenna actually has a function as a waveguide. And that's basically what this was done. This was a waveguide on top of the mask of the Philadelphia experiment. This was the waveguide for the electromagnetic fields to keep them in check around the vessel, so they wouldn't just go drifting off in any direction. It would keep a formation. Well, the little antenna you see on top of a UFO, which some pictures actually show it, is a waveguide antenna. It actually waveguides the electromagnetic field coils going around the UFO and the inside, and keeps those in check. So it basically creates a field around the UFO, which is disc-shaped in the shape of a diamond in its own way. It actually creates a similar effect. And this is a geometrical figure that is absolutely beyond all comprehension of most people, because they don't understand that you can actually, geometrics, when they're made in the geometric objects, will create certain frequencies and fields. They discovered this with the cell phones. Do you notice a little antenna that's inside a booster antenna for some of the new phones are based on factuals, which is those little factuals. I don't know if you've ever seen factuals before, but they're like the little wave things around. I don't think I got anything that has a picture of a factual in it. But if you just look up factuals, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's the Montauk and the other design. But they found out that you can actually use those patterns, and they actually fit certain wave frequencies. And I just wish I had a picture of something like that. And there's no picture in this book of it. And I know Tesla didn't work with factuals. But here's another book if you want to understand the what was happening with the HARP system. Is some of his works. This is called Inventions, Research, and Writings of Nikola Tesla. This is a very good book. It has this is almost like the textbook that taught everyone else how to make generators and motors and stuff for classes. I mean, it's got all the designs in there, the patent designs, explains them all. It shows you pictures of some of his stuff that he built to put in the textbook. And, it's got the formulas in there. I don't know if I can get that to come up or not. It's got the formulas and everything in there for his coils. This is a very good book if you want to understand Tesla's works. Inventions and Research and Writings of Tesla Coil, or Nikola Tesla and his Tesla coil. We even got the Tesla coil stuff in here too, and some of his high frequency generators. Very good book, very good stuff. I think that's about it. That's all I wanted to talk about was the Delta T antenna and how to use that. It was used in the Montauk project at Long Island on the tip. There's an underground base underneath the old Air Force base that's up there at the tip. It's been closed down, turned into a park, but the underground, some parts are still active of that, even though they were shut down supposedly by aliens saying, going that no thing to them, and shame on you, and they shut them down because they were playing with time. And then if you read the Montauk Project Experiments in Time, they'll talk about how a guy who was a psychic named Cameron was sitting in the chair, and him and the scientists decided they weren't going to let him play with time anymore and try to change the future, because now we're on parallel timelines, and that's why 2012 there's two paths we can go by. as the song goes. There are two paths you can go by, but in the end, and he was sitting in a room above the tip up here in a chair that tapped into his mind, and he was a high-powered psychic. He had psychic powers, stronger than anyone else they could find, and he was able to run it, and the computers were able to tap and run the pulses and everything to create a time tunnel inside the middle of this, big enough to drive a full-size military 2-ton truck through, 2 or 3 ton truck with equipment, and they could go through time or space. I mean, this is what this is here, is what was the chamber. It was 100 feet tall by 100 feet. It's diamond shaped like this. Just imagine this being 100 feet by 100 feet, and you'll get an idea that the doorway was just a little opening about that big around in the center of this thing, that there was big enough to drive trucks through. And that was the purpose of the Delta T antenna at the Montauk project, was to open time vortexes up and allow them to shift through time and space. Supposedly they went to Mars first through there because he was able to get Cameron to focus his mind on Mars, and they just showed things, and he was able to pick up if there was a place they could go to and appear into. So they went there and they found bases, abandoned bases on Mars, and they took them over, and eventually they made a thing called the jump room, which you'll have to read David Wilcox's YouTube on that. Just put in jump room to Mars, and you'll find out about the jump room. That they have a thing, it's like an elevator. You walk in, the door's shut, you feel a little funny, the door's open, and you're on Mars. Just like that. Instantaneous. And you can go there and you have lunch and come back. And it's about what they're saying. And they have those jump rooms now. There's 4 or 5 of them around the world, usually underneath major cities. I think there's one in every major city maybe now. At the time, when they first came out, there was only a dozen or a half dozen of them in the world. Now there's like several hundred of them, I think, that tie together so you can jump to Mars. They're real places where people in the know can get off this world in case a catastrophe happens and go to Mars, where they have a base already set up. And I wouldn't doubt they don't have starships. I thought about this when they had the missing children on milk cartons. I'm going, I wonder how many, like maybe 80%, because you read in the Montauk Project, Experiments in Time, they were kidnapping kids off the street and bringing them into these projects. And what they were doing to these kids in Montauk wasn't nice. But I'm thinking, maybe this is how they can keep this secret space force that McKenna in England was talking about. They tapped into the NASA computers and Pentagon computers and found out about a secret space force and names of naval vessels, he thought, but he couldn't find no registry on record. But there were names of ships. And then he found a list of off-world enlistees and officers off-world. And I'm just thinking, maybe this is how they got their crew for a lot of this. As they kidnap these kids, walk up to a kid on the street who's 6, 7 years old and say, how'd you like to be Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Starship Enterprise, or even a Captain Kirk, or even Mr. Spock or something, pick one of the characters, ask them what character they like, and they go, oh, I like this one. How'd you like to be that character? How'd you like to really be that in real life? Well, come with me. I'll take you and make you that way. And they take them in and they reprogram them and they make them forget about their life they had. And the next thing you know is they're working on the secret space project. I wouldn't doubt we don't have starships. We've been there and done that. We've about anything you can imagine, they have done it. I think the guy who owned the Lear jets, not John, but his dad, said that they believed that there was secret. They had to have spaceships, and they've already been there and done that. And whatever you can imagine, anything that Lucas could have come up with, they've been there and done it. Or any Spilsberg or any of them. Well, until next time, that's Cyberscribe saying good day, be good at it.